Divorce isn't just a legal process, it is a life altering transition. And today, Mia Poppe shares on how important it is to have a female attorney and how that can help women navigate divorce strategically, protect themselves, and reclaim control over their lives.
Welcome to Women Winning Divorce, the podcast helping successful women navigate divorce with dignity so you can protect yourself, your children, and your assets. I'm Heather Quick, founding attorney at Florida Women's Law Group, where women win at life.
This week, we had Mia Poppe on the show, and we had a powerful conversation about navigating divorce strategically as a woman. Mia shared her journey from father's rights advocacy to a woman-centered practice, how to approach divorce strategically, and what women need to know to protect themselves legally and emotionally. Welcome to this week's episode of Women Winning Divorce. I'm Heather Quick, owner and attorney at Florida Women's Law Group. Today I'm joined by Mia Poppe, a highly sought after matrimonial attorney who spent her career advocating for clients in complex divorces, particularly women navigating high stakes timesharing and financial matters. Mia has a unique background, having started her career advocating for fathers' rights before shifting to a women centered practice. Her approach combines legal strategy with emotional empowerment, helping women take control of their divorce and their lives. And I will be discussing how to navigate divorce strategically as a woman, including legal and emotional considerations. The lessons Mia has learned from her career transition and personal divorce experience, and how women can protect themselves while maintaining emotional clarity during divorce. Welcome, Mia.
Welcome. Thank you, Heather, for having me.
Well, we are so pleased and honored to have you today, and I'm really excited for our listeners to learn more about you. So, Mia, if you would share a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Well, the first thing I want to share, Heather, is that I was born in the Sunshine State of Florida.
Woo-hoo.
So, I have been practicing matrimonial law in New York State, in New York City, in the boroughs of New York City for 18 and a half years. Prior to practicing law, I was a banking executive for 22 years. Citigroup recruited me directly out of college after I graduated in South Carolina. And I had a wonderful career in banking at the executive level for 22 years.
Wow.
There came a time in my life after my own personal first divorce that I just asked myself, is this what I do with my life? I have this great career. I have these 3 sons and I get fabulous bonuses every year. Is this all I do?
Uh-huh.
And I decided to leave the workforce and I went to law school as a mature student.
Yes.
Moved to New York, where I have aptly combined Southern wisdom, Southern gentility, and Southern manners with deep financial acumen and very deep legal acumen to advocate for my clients here in the New York City area.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, that really is so cool because what a great compliment of the careers, especially, oh my gosh, for family law, right? To have
Yes.
that financial background just puts you in a place above so many others, right? To help your clients.
Yes, I believe so. Absolutely. And I see that fruit every day in my practice, Heather, every day.
I love it. Now, I want to explain, I would love for you to explain your shift from father's rights advocacy to a women-centered divorce practice.
Yeah. So I began my practice in Manhattan in 2009 as a father's rights advocate. My thing was that fathers were more than just check writers and they should be active participants in their children's lives. And poor dads getting the short end of the legal stick is how I framed it at that time. And Heather, then 2016 happened and I had a dramatic reckoning with the status of women in our country. So not only had Mr. Trump defeated Miss Clinton, but the narrative around that whole election and the narrative around her. And then there was the Me Too things and the Hollywood access, things were dropping. And I just really, as a woman, had a reckoning that women, we weren't where we believed we were.
Yeah.
We weren't getting good equal treatment. And to bring it home, women weren't being treated the same as men in the legal sector, our backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had this reckoning, and at that point, at great financial impact to myself, I changed my marketing. I changed where I went speaking to people. I completely changed who I accepted as clients to
Wow.
make the radical shift to representing women because, the light had been turned on. And one thing that I saw for sure, Heather, that I want to mention is that we had been told or made to believe that high achieving, successful women who had gone to the heights, that they were enjoying the same benefits that men were. And that was not the truth. What I really found is that our sisterhood, who was very successful, very accomplished, that they were enduring something that I talk a lot about on my social media as invisible abuse. So they were coming home from these high-powered jobs, being met with aggressive language. They were making seven-figure incomes only to have their partners, their husbands, have complete control over their money.
Yeah.
And these women who were busting their butts after the have it all dream and were having children were having these very nasty, aggressive, disrespectful partners threaten them with custody of their own children if they didn't continue to comply.
Mm-hmm.
Heather, does this happen or does this not happen?
It happens. It happens every day. Yeah, it does. And that's the thing. Like, we have this insight into what really does go on because, people out, they don't believe that. They're like, oh, no, she makes all this money, but she may not have the freedom that you would think and that we would hope for women to have, because sometimes these relationships are so toxic and controlling, and it really limits the woman's ability to see herself as having that freedom.
And Heather, as women, you and I certainly aren't going through the parade of horribles. All abuse is horrible. But what I have found is that the invisible abuse, the emotional abuse, the narcissistic abuse that is predominantly targeted at amazing, successful, vibrant women,
Yeah.
that abuse is arguably some of the most insidious abuse, because the many women that I've spoken to have said, Mia, I would rather have a black eye or broken ribs rather than have his narrative going on in my mind always, his gaslighting, and me, Mia, being there and present, but questioning myself, did that really happen? Because he told me it didn't happen.
I
It's
know.
it's insidious. And so really, that's, that was a big part of my twist, that fabulous women weren't living the lives that we all kind of thought, even I thought that we were living.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Well, I love that you made that shift, right, to help more women, because I agree. Obviously, I think that's very important. And we need that. We need more advocates for ourselves, and reminding everyone that we are worthy and valuable. And just because you're a man and you show up in court doesn't mean you are a superhero. Wants to see your
Exactly.
case. Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's get into this. Like, why is it important for women to approach divorce strategically rather than emotionally?
Okay, so I have several things to say about that. One thing that I want to start off, and I'm not going to pump the brakes, even though it sounds self-serving. I'm going to say this is a strategic approach. Women come to me and they want to retain me as their second lawyer because things have gone off track with their first lawyer. And generally, that first lawyer listen, we all have licenses, we all bring value, but generally that first lawyer was a male. And the question that I ask these incredible women all the time is, my love, what made you think in the first place that a male lawyer could be a holistic 360 advocate for you? What
Mhm.
made you think that? And in hindsight, they always say, I shouldn't have thought that. And I want to just highlight two things. So, first of all, Heather, you and I, as female matrimonial and divorce lawyers, number one, we see the world as women. We walk as
Mhm.
women, we present as women, people interact back with us as women. That's a world we are intimately familiar with. The
Mhm.
other world that we're intimately familiar with, because we've been forced from the time we were in the crib to learn, is the male and or patriarchal world. We know that world intimately also. So when a female client comes to us, we know the world that she's experienced because that's the world we've experienced. And we also know the world that has acted upon her, the
Mhm.
patriarchal world, because we're walking in that world too, except that we've paid close attention and we've learned to be, as some classes of vampires, day walkers. So we walk on both sides of the world. And
Mhm.
therein is a difference. And so when a woman is going through a divorce, I think the threshold strategic decision she needs to make is who to hire to represent me. Strategic decision number one, or the strategic inquiry number one, is, does this person who I'm talking with in a consult, do they get me? Do
Yes.
I have to over explain every bit of my story? Or
Mm.
are they reflecting back to me? Yes, I get it.
Yeah.
I understand. Yes. So that's strategic decision number one. Otherwise, if you don't make the best outcome or threshold decision, and you end up hiring somebody who doesn't really understand you and the dual worlds that you walk in, listen, can you get a good outcome with a man? Of course you are. Of course you can. There are many good lawyers, but the lifting is going to be heavier at a
Yeah.
time when you're already emotionally taxed. Does that make sense as strategic decision number one?
Yes. 100%. And I am certain our listeners will agree as well. Sometimes you just got to say it's the truth. It is the truth, and we don't say it enough. Think about who you are hiring from. I mean, that's a really good starting point. And is you may have heard, oh, they're the best, but are they the best for you? Are they really? From whose perspective? Because that's also really important as well. Now, how do you help women frame their case in a way that judges can understand and respect?
Okay, that very strategic move there. I I coach all of my clients, and what I coach them is, listen, the world we live in is the world we live in. Let's get in this game and let's not
Yeah.
complain about the game. Let's get in it. Let's get actively in it. So, judges, I love judges. I have so much respect for judges. I respect the bench, but
Hmm.
the bench is what the bench is. And listen, if you are a middle-aged man, you have had 50 or 60 years of a certain type of experience. And that experience has shaped, and listen to me carefully, audience, it has shaped what you can, meaning what you have the ability to hear, and what you can have the ability to see.
Hmm.
Our experiences shape that. So with judges, I tell my clients, first of all, I never engage in judge bashing, but
Right.
I say to my clients, hold on, hold on. He can't. It's literally cannot see that. He can't. He literally can't digest the story. So listen, when you know listen, I live in Manhattan. Certain people that I approach, I immediately speak Spanglish to. Immediately. I don't need a reminder. If you say everything in English, they're not going to get it. I immediately
Yeah.
speak Spanglish. So let's immediately out the gates bring forth a picture that the judge can see. Because listen, when we can't see a picture, any of us, we fill in the gaps based on our own life experience. So let's be strategic on serving up the story in a way that the judge can see. You want to tell a story that's very pictorial. You want to tell something that they can see. And remember, they're seeing it through the lens of a middle-aged male. But the good news is your female lawyer understands that lens. We do. We understand that lens. And so strategically tell your story and strategically select words, word choice, select words that their ears can hear, right?
Yeah.
Tell a story in a way that's palpable. Now, I'm certainly not suggesting that you have your female attorney create a story. That's not what I'm saying. Please, please don't think that. But we must tell the story using correct imagery and correct vernacular. And that imagery and that vernacular must remain true to the female client, and it must remain true to her children, because it's just the way women show up. We show up,
Yeah.
our kids are first, our interests are second, third, fourth. That's just the storyline for women, right?
Yeah.
The male storyline is different. They show up, what's first is my money and career, and then everything else, right?
Yeah.
So acknowledge that, use the appropriate word choice to honor your story, honor your children's story, and listen. I just heavily believe, that only a female attorney can give honor to your story. And that's important, that the judge hear your
Yeah.
story, but he must hear it correctly. And I know I'm using a pronoun he. In my jurisdiction, we are blessed. We have lots of female attorneys. But female judges, but our numbers are greater with male judges. So
Yeah.
please, that's why that pronoun is coming out of my mouth, because the roll of the dice, more likely than not, the judge is going to be a male person.
Yeah, same here in our jurisdiction as well. And really, I think if you look nationally, the percentages are more skewed towards the men. But I think that's so important. I really agree with you, because, and I love the way that you explain that, because I've used those words too. It's like we have to portray the story, and we mean story, your story, not a story, your story, but we have to portray it. You've been married 10, 15 years. We have a few hours to get that across, but we want them to be able to envision it. Whatever the issue is that we're in front of the court with, we've got to articulate it. We want you to be able to paint that picture for them so that they can hear and see what we're trying to get you to communicate.
That's exactly right. And Heather, if I may jump in, because we're talking about being strategic. My number 3 thing is 2 parts. And number 3 is you must be ready to shed the fairy tale,
Yeah.
right? You must be ready to shed the fairy tale. And the fairy tale is 2 things. Number 1 was that the man you married was going to be your Prince Charming forever, and he was going to save you. So if you shed that fairy tale, then you're not so emotionally triggered by the fact that he's on the other side of the room trying to slay you. If you
Yeah.
shed that fairy tale, right? You're not so, oh my God, Heather, I can't believe it. Oh my God, Heather. No, shed the fairy tale. And then the second part of the fairy tale, because I'm a girl, right? I love fairy tales. We were raised in fairy tales. But the second fairy tale, and this will serve your listening audience well, is shed the fairy tale that you're going to go into court riding in on your horse called truth and your horse called self-sacrifice, and that with one wave of the gavel, the judge is going to restore justice for you and your children, and the ship will be righted. Unshift. Fairy tale number 2. Is that right or not right, Heather?
That is right. And that's a hard one. That's a harsh truth and reality that our clients have to understand. And, we've got to deliver that, which goes back to your first, when we first talked about, and you're like, strategically pick the right attorney. You need an attorney who's going to level with you and tell you the truth. You may not want to hear it. Most of our clients, I don't think, want to hear it, but it's like, we care enough. Like, we are going to tell you the reality of your situation. Now, that doesn't mean we can't come up with strategies and ways, but if you don't really understand the reality of your particular situation in your divorce, then you need another attorney, because you really need to understand what you're up against, and that what you're like coming in saying you want, like, it's completely unrealistic or not even, in line with the law. So it's like not going to happen.
It's not
And
gonna
they hate to hear it. I'm like, well, listen, like, I'm not going to be the first time you hear that in front of a judge. Like, you're going to hear it from me. Like, that this isn't going to, you better come up with some more facts or more information for me to tell you maybe this is even possible. And I think that is so important with what we do, and that our clients, I think that they do appreciate it once the shock wears off a lot of time. But it's like, you got to know, like, hey, this is what we're dealing with. So let's hit it head on.
Exactly. And Heather, encompassed in what you just said is a huge gender difference. And I want to just touch on that gender difference. When Heather said, we're going to tell you like it is, we're going to tell you the truth, and you may not like it. So you have to think most males have been raised, including my 3 sons who I raised, tell her what she wants to hear. And men are hardwired to tell
Yeah.
people what they want to hear. Women, we are hardwired to not hurt our girlfriend's feelings. Now, let
Yes.
me tell you why women lawyers serve you different. Because Heather and I, we don't see you as our girlfriend. So we're never worried about hurting your feelings. The male lawyer is still tell her what she wants to hear, tell her what she wants to
Yeah.
hear, right? So listen, gender really does matter in the divorce context, because Heather and I, when we walk into our offices and we look in the mirror, we don't see your best friend who doesn't want to hurt your feelings.
Right.
We really see your big sister who I'm going to take care of my baby sister. And
Yeah.
anybody that messes with my baby sister, their ass is mine. And Heather, is that what we see or not? Please.
That is absolutely. And we can be there, like, I think a lot of it is like, well, and this is, I mean, sometimes I've been accused of this by clients. You're just too tough. You're mean. And it's like, it's really coming from a place of like, I really care about you. You're a person, and I care that you don't understand your situation. And I want you to understand it, because we can make it better. But I think that's hard sometimes. And sometimes I think the women clients are like, you're just so hard to hear it, right? But it's like, well, yeah, but like, we deal in reality and truth. That's what we deal with in the courtroom. So you just have to hear it. And that's why many people are disappointed later, because their attorney didn't level with them, or he was kind of, soft pedaling around the harsh reality of where it's going to end up, and wasn't, like you said, telling them what they want to hear, or omitting that information, right? They're like, I'm not going to tell them, like, that's just going to make her cry. And it's like, well, it's probably a good time to cry. Like, get it out, because it's not going to be good. Get it out.
Listen, and I pedal in tears all the time. Like, sometimes when there's a big reality, like a huge reality, and we stumbled upon a huge reality, I say to my women clients, I say, Patty, go ahead and cry right now. Cry hard. When you hang up the phone from me, call your trusted support system, cry to them. But Patty, I don't want you crying ever again over this issue after 5 o'clock today.
Yeah.
And something that simple, Heather, means so much to my clients, and it helps them get a grip. Let me call everybody, because Mia said, over this issue, I don't want you crying anymore after 5 o'clock today. Get off, sister, cry all those tears right now.
Yeah.
That's never going to be said by a male attorney. As a
No,
matter of fact, they want to avoid all tears.
They do want to avoid it, so they're going to avoid the hard conversations.
They avoid the hard conversation.
So that leads to my next question, and something I think is so important to talk about, which is like, what role do mindset and confidence play in achieving the best outcomes in divorce?
Many decades ago, this pastor of a megachurch, I think his name was Charles Swindoll, he had this little saying, the more I go through life, I learn this and I learn that. And then his final pause was, what I have learned is life is 90% your attitude and 10% what happens to you. But listen, I got to tweak that a little bit. Set is everything. Is everything. And when I have clients in some, in households, in intimate households, like some really, really bad stuff happens.
Yeah.
And when someone has gone through some really, really bad stuff and they now have PTSD and a whole bunch of autoimmune diseases because of this really bad stuff, I say all the time, listen, we have to find you a coach or a professional to do mindset work. I
Yeah.
said, like, I deem mindset work to be the top priority. And so a lot of us can get up every morning, read our affirmations, have our group of positive thinking, positive friends that we surround ourselves with. And that's our more than sufficient mindset work. But some people don't have that platform. And so mindset is everything in a divorce because of everything that happens. If you have a mindset that sees the glass half empty, everything that
Hmm.
happens, you will only see how you're being acted upon. And when you are so committed to telling me how the soon to be ex husband, the courts, the children's lawyer, everybody is acting on you, it's really difficult for me to turn that boat because I need my
Yeah.
client to turn the boat. Like,
Right.
really, we can't do it all for you. Mindset is it is 100%. And listen, mindset is not only 100% of everything to you in your divorce process. Mindset is 100% of everything to how your children will turn out. And I say that, Heather, because, I've been divorced twice.
Okay.
And I have one set of children from divorce number one, and I have a second set of children from divorce number two. And I have to tell you, I have an incredible bunch of amazing citizens in every community that my children operate in. They are amazing citizens. And I'm going to take credit for that, not based on how great I raised them or how great of a mom I was, but I have always, and through all my kids' lives, had a glass half full mindset. So
Hmm.
if you don't have it, get it because you can get it. You
You
you can
can. You
acquire.
can.
You can
Yeah.
acquire a positive mindset. Are you going to have to do work? Yeah, you're going to have to do some work. Are you going to have to get up in the morning? Yeah, you're going to have to get up in the morning. But will you and your children and your communities reap the benefit? Yes, yes, yes. Positive
Hmm.
mindset carries the day every day.
Yes. I agree. And I think that when, for our listeners, you hear that and you think, but how do I do it? Well, understand that this is something that you can achieve and do. And, that's why we have this amazing thing called the internet, right? You can just start. There's so many good books and there's so many podcasts. There's so many ways to consume information that can be uplifting if you just look for it. You'll be amazed now that it's within your awareness. You will see it everywhere. And one of the things that I learned from going to Tony Robbins' event was he says, what if, you look at life as happening for you, not to you? And that can change everything. That can change your whole life. If you just think, this happening for me, even if you don't know why right now. But if you can make that little shift, I think it can change your whole life. Looking at your past, look at all that happened for you to help you show up today. And that's where I think with the divorce, like, listen, this isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. And if you go with it there, nothing's going to be able to stop you.
Heather, when you say look at your path and not what's been done to you, but for you, you know, I am, Southern girl, born in Florida, raised in South Carolina my whole life. Elementary schools were segregated when I was in elementary school until my
Wow.
mom pulled me out and put me into private schools, 2 divorces. And let me just say this, a divorce is a failure. It is a ultimate failure.
Yeah.
But I say all the time, to get the children that I have and to get the life that I have today, which is a very amazing, I have an incredible life. But to get my kids and to get this life, I would take those two failures again voluntarily. I would sign up. I would be first in the line, to be literally knocked to my knees with court papers, which I was,
Yeah.
like to get what I have today.
Yeah.
We got to start somewhere. We have to see things differently. And Heather, I love the name of your podcast, Winning Divorce. That's a perspective. That's a
Yeah.
perspective. And
Yep.
your listeners have to choose to, okay, I'm going to embrace this. I'm going to listen to this podcast called Winning Divorce. And it's a decision. So
Yeah.
you can win a divorce, but winning means a lot of different things. In the context that we're talking about when we say winning divorce, and let me just speak for myself, is coming through the divorce process, not having been bludgeoned and belittled, but
Right.
coming out of the divorce process and meeting Mia 2.0, Mia 3.0. Like you're going to meet that woman on the other side
Mhm.
if you change your perspective. And so I just
Right.
invite you, change your perspective, win in
Mhm.
divorce, and meet yourself 2.0. It's an incredible thing.
Yes, thank you. Well, and I guess for so long, and I know you've heard it because divorce attorneys say it all the time. Nobody wins. Nobody wins. I'm like, that is just not true.
It's just not true.
I'm a ridiculously competitive person. Like in a lot of ways, it really suits me well. Some areas not as much, but it is. I'm like, that's just not true. If I get what I want, that's a win. And I totally believe you can win, and you don't have to make them lose. Because guess what? Maybe they're getting what they want, you get what you want. And if you look at it that way, again, glass half full. Like, all you want is your freedom. So, I completely disagree. I've been on so many podcasts or interviewed somebody, nobody wins. I was like, that's not true. It's not even close to true because you do win. And then, they're like, oh, and only the children suffer. It's like that. I'm not going to buy that narrative.
No.
I don't think that's true at all.
No, because, my children, after me going through divorce, my children have a happy, happy mom, a mom who gets up every day with zest for life. And I want to add this one actual practical thing that happens in my practice with this notion of winning and not winning is, and this happens, and my clients, if they're ever listen to this, they would laugh. But if we go to court, right, and we lose on emotion, like a judge rules against us,
Right.
when we go in the hallway, I go, don't get distracted. Judges have a need to give something to both sides. We're going to carry the day. They gave them the win on this one motion.
We'll get it
Watch
back.
the sweep. And let me tell you, I say it all the time. And guess what? We always get the sweep.
Yeah.
Right? Know who you're dealing with. Judges, they operate in, I want to be fair to both sides. And I see it all the time. They give something to the side that when they're eventually going to give the farm to the other side. And why do my clients always get the farm? Because I work with my clients and I drill my clients and get my clients to go into the courtroom with that glass half full and have the best intentions, right? I never represent evil. I never represent lies, but I do represent all the time scared, terrified people, right? And we help turn them.
Yes, indeed.
And you can win.
You can. That's right. So on that, before we go, Mia, based on our title, Women Winning Divorce, because I do believe that you can win a divorce, but also winning at life. And, no matter how big or small, I would love to hear from you. What does winning at life mean to you?
So winning in life for me means that, number one, I have children. I have adult children and I have young children, 12-year-old twins. And all of my children like me. Even my 12-year-old tweens with their slick little mouths, Heather.
I know.
Heather, my kids like and my kids respect me, and that is winning,
Yes.
right? Also, what's winning to me, if I tell somebody within one of my communities that I'm going to do something, they go to sleep on it's going to get
Yeah.
done. So, winning also for me means having personal credibility. And then
Mhm.
finally, the final prong of what winning for me means is winning is when you get up in the mirror in the morning, you recognize the woman in the mirror, you recognize who she is because you
Mhm.
built her,
Yep.
and you like the woman in the mirror. And that
That's
is the
good.
third prong of what winning means to me.
But that is great. That is so great. And lastly, where can our listeners find you for more information and resources, Mia?
I love it. So if your listeners would go to Instagram, poppy.esq. They will find lots of what I have to say. And also we will offer your listeners a complimentary book, How to Navigate Divorce, The Empowered Woman's Guide to Navigating Divorce. And if you're in New York and you're looking for a divorce attorney and you want to go to my firm's website, simply go to miapoppe.com, MIAPOPPE. And thank you so much for having me, Heather.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a great show, and we have reached the end today, but we are so thankful to have Mia Poppe for joining us to share her expertise on strategic divorce, emotional empowerment, and protecting yourself legally. Your insights will help so many women listening today feel more confident, empowered, and prepared to take control of their divorce attorney. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Listeners, if you or someone you know in the Northeast Florida area is going through or even thinking about divorce, you're not alone. Taking that first step can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Our newsletter is filled with actionable advice tailored to guide you through this process. By signing up, you'll gain the tools to face the unknown with courage and see if we're the right fit to support you during this life-changing time. Don't wait. Click the link in the show notes, fill out the form, and take the first step toward building a brighter future today.